Dad, you're so corny.
You. Welcome back. And I'm not saying that to y'all, I'm saying that to me. I've been missed for a few episodes, but I'm back.
But you here, man.
But you here now.
I'm here. Welcome to Corny Dads podcast, where we highlight modern day fatherhood and provide resources to modern day fathers. We just some corny dads that do dope things for their dope kids. I'm CJ Snuggy Harris.
Yogi Den Namaste.
I'm Oz. Follow me on TikTok at Corny Dads OJC.
Hello.
You finally got it on point. And I'm the man with many hats. Some people call me Chico. These gentlemen call me Ace, but my children call me Papa.
As you guys can see, it's not just the four of us. It's not just men up here today. We have our first official guest, Miss Aneekah Simmons.
Thank you. How's everybody doing?
Good. We're doing wonderfully.
That's awesome.
Just to give a little background on Miss Aneekah Simmons-Durham is a physician assistant certified from Hillside, New Jersey. So shout out Hillside, New Jersey.
Stand up.
She's been certified since 2006, so we got time in the game. She has been a women's health PA for 15 years, working at Planned Parenthood for majority of that time, where she has counseled countless number of women about sexual and women's health, and seeing them after delivery during the postpartum phase as well. So you already know the vibes, and this is why we're here for the postpartum series. Yes. So it fits well.
Perfect. Miss Aneekah, how are you?
I'm well. Oh, it's good to be seen.
Good to be seen?
Oh yeah. On this wonderful day.
So as you guys know, or you probably can tell that, we're here today because we give men's perspective on just fatherhood and things that we experience. This particular topic, we want to talk about something that we may not know a whole bunch about biologically, emotionally, or even spiritually. And that's what women experience with postpartum depression and anxiety and such, aka PPD. So that's why Miss Aneekah is here. Guys, you guys got anything to add before she jumps in?
Yeah, just as a guide, and we appreciate you being here because
Absolutely.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely.
I think it's an important topic, and I appreciate you guys for diving into it like you're about to do. So
We appreciate
letting the
you.
people know on a different level. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Miss Aneekah, so let us know. I know Yogi Den just gave you a great introduction, right?
Thank you.
But ultimately, I think it's very important that the viewers who are listening in, they hear it directly from you.
Sure.
Who are you, and why are you here?
So I am Aneekah Simmons-Durham. I'm a physician assistant, and so what that is a mid-level practitioner who practices alongside other nurse practitioners, nurses, and doctors. I'm not exactly a doctor. Sometimes people confuse me as such, and that's okay, but I don't misrepresent myself. I just have different training, and so I have been trained to help women in the GYN setting and postpartum setting. So I don't deliver babies per se, but I do see women after they deliver in my office for checkups afterwards. So,
and that's exactly why we're here.
Absolutely.
For the afterbirth, right? So
Dad, say it again.
yeah, that's exactly why we're here. So it's fitting that you're sitting with us today.
yeah.
So I guess we'll start off with the first question
Sure.
and what is postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety? What is it?
So postpartum depression is when a woman has a baby. There is a lot of hormonal changes that could go on. And just think, when a woman is pregnant, hormones are at their highest level. And literally, as soon as the placenta has been delivered, and that's whether you have a vaginal delivery or C-section, the hormone levels immediately start to drop within minutes of delivering that supportive home for the baby, right? And so what can happen is that significant drop in hormone levels can cause a woman's emotions to kind of sometimes spiral out of control. Now, there is depression is more of the more significant diagnosis. There's now obviously, having a baby, getting used to, lack of sleep, changing diapers if you have other kids or other responsibilities, that's a lot to handle. But sometimes it could be so overwhelming that it causes a woman to kind of just go really down deep within her own mind and her own self, and she just feels like she can't go on. So it's pretty serious. Now there's a difference. Sometimes immediately after, you can feel down and have what they call baby blues. And so that's more of a just getting used to the overwhelming feeling of a newborn, and that can last just a few days to weeks. But the depression can last even longer.
About how long?
So it can go anywhere beyond a year, and the diagnosis can be seen anywhere from birth or delivery up to 1 year. So it's not something that's immediate, as soon as she delivers, boom, it hits. It could be the baby is 6 months old, the baby is turning 1. And so it can happen at any time.
Wow. And what are some of the signs and what are some of the symptoms associated with it?
So, it's super common. In the office, I'll see ladies. So in my office, I would see ladies 6 or 8 weeks postpartum. So 6 weeks if you had a vaginal delivery, 8 weeks if you had a C-section. And so in that visit, what I'm looking for is how she is bonding with the baby. If she says, hey, I just don't feel like I can take care of my baby, or I can't even get out of the bed, or I just don't feel like being bothered with anyone. I just give my partner or my husband the baby, and I just can't do anything. And those are signs that I'm looking for when I'm talking to a woman about how she's feeling. How are you? How are you handling lack of sleep? Obviously, we all know that's something that can happen, but how are you handling that? And how are you taking care of yourself? If she just tells me, I just want to lay down all day, that's something I want to dive deeper into, see what that means, what exactly that means.
So I have a question. How transparent are women when it comes to being honest about that, just communicating what they feel?
Now, are you referring to transparency with me as a provider or with a partner?
Both. Please. Because there's definitely a difference.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I get to hear different sides of from my patients that a partner or a friend may not see or hear. So from the medical standpoint, I feel like with me, a lot of my patients are pretty transparent. Then again, I know what to look for. Sometimes I could just get a feel when a patient is sitting across from me, just through conversation. Is the conversation dragging? Is she not making eye contact with me? Is she, looking down? Is she looking frumpy and, or even how she comes into my office. Does she look disheveled? Is she does she look like she took a bath in, the last couple days or not, And so some of those things are just things that I'm looking for, medically. And if I see that, then I know, to dig in. How are you coping? What's your support system look like? And so based on that information, then I know how to navigate what she may need. Have you ever thought about, talking to somebody? Have you ever talked to someone about how you were feeling? No, well, I didn't. I just stayed to myself, and we know when you have a baby, it's not much staying to yourself. So it's just a matter of, getting clues as to what I see from my patients.
That makes perfect sense. Now, is the support system welcome into these visits?
So we definitely would like the support system to come, especially if there's a struggle with certain things, and we usually base it on what the patient wants. If she feels like, hey, I feel uncomfortable talking to my partner about this, then I might say, can you give us a few minutes so that I could, have a private conversation to kind of be able to dig in a little bit more, and then we'll invite, the partner, or we'll invite you back in to kind of, go over, maybe what we talked about, if she's comfortable.
I guess the question is it common for the partner to show up?
Ooh, now that's a different question. That's a different question because we all know, it's not necessarily like everybody has a true partner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
So, could that be the reason why she feels the way she feels?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like it's really dependent on, circumstances and the situation that every woman is in, because every woman is different, right? And so if it may not be the hormonal change, it just could be situational. Like she's a single mom, or, I've had homeless women come in, and you think like, wow, homeless, how are you pregnant? How are you having a baby? It happens.
You've seen it.
It happens. And so, it's just a matter of just, talking to her and, doing the best that I can.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just to add on to the question of the partner. So if you do have a case where, a woman that's just having a baby, she does have a supportive partner, are you also able to see any signs in the partner that they may be suffering from PPD as well, even though it's something that's not clinically diagnosed? But
Sure.
What are some of the signs that you may see in a man that may lead you to think like, oh, he's suffering from PPD as well?
We should table that. We should table
That's
that
a really
question.
good. That's a
That's
dope
a very
question.
dope question, but we should table that towards the end.
You know what's so decent about what you're talking about with the partner? Even with the partner, like the things that you're saying that you notice, sounds like something that we can notice.
Absolutely.
Right? If we paid attention.
No, it's true.
Like these are all nonverbal cues, like from what I'm hearing, that, and can you hear me? Nonverbal cues that you're seeing within the female, right? Within the woman, that we should be able to pick up as well. So I hope everyone heard all of the nonverbal cues that she said that she was looking for when she has someone visiting her. You definitely want to check and see, the shoulders, are they slumped down? You want to check and see just if they're tightening up or if they're open, things of that nature. So just crying and things like that.
So
not eating. All those things.
how can a partner provide a safe space?
I think communication. Why do you laugh?
Oh man.
I think communication. I think asking the questions, hey, how are you? What can I do for you? Because she has a lot on her plate. If she's nursing, whoa, I did that. And you feel like you live at that moment to nurse, right? And so it's nonstop. It's every 1 to 2 hours, if not more, that you're nursing. And it's like you barely have time to do anything. And forget if you have other children that you have to take care of, it could be overwhelming. So it's just a matter of having the conversation and communicating, hey, I'm here. What can I do to help you? What do you need? Whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing, to help. And then if you notice things, say, hey, are you okay? I noticed this, blah, blah, blah. I noticed that you've been crying a lot. I noticed that you hand the baby to me every time the baby cries, or are you okay? And just asking, letting your partner know that this is a safe space. If you need to talk, I'm here. You know what I mean? So I think literally communication is how you can. Now, all women may not communicate well, and in that space they may not want to. But maybe if you go to the doctor's appointment and say, hey, doc, can I ask you a question? Or this has been happening, what should I do? That's maybe something that you could bring up to the provider or to somebody else who may be able to, tap into how she's feeling if it's not working for you.
Okay.
I think that's really good, right? Because my next question was just, what happens if communication is a little shifty?
That's why we laughed when you said communication.
Like it was
because
really
honestly,
something simple.
Communication solves a lot, but unfortunately,
Of course,
communication just.
Sometimes it's not as easy as it seems.
Right.
Yeah, and not just on the woman's side, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we have issues
Absolutely.
communicating as well.
Sometimes.
So I just want to. Listen, I refuse to take the complete blame.
Listen, man, you got 4 brothers here that got your back, bro. 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%.
So,
well, that's a whole nother topic.
Tell me about it.
so
man.
communication doesn't get easier.
No, it doesn't.
Post pregnancy.
Of course.
So I think that's one of those things that have to be practiced during. So when you talk about the support, if it's not there, like the baby sometimes is expected to change things. What's that face for? Come on, tell me. Talk about it.
Because that is, the baby is going to fully complicate things. Because, well, seriously, there is a ton of responsibility that you don't really realize until you're in it, right? And so, like, you know, you didn't think that I could change a diaper, that's nothing. But when you're doing it on an hour of sleep, you know, it's a whole different thing. You know, when everybody's emotions are running high, then yeah, that leaves a lot of room for, you know, the partner to feel overwhelmed and get depressed, or the mother to feel overwhelmed and get depressed. Because, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, you know, and sleep is a big one.
I have another question.
Yeah.
We have your professional opinion.
Sure.
So you said that you kind of hinted at you're a mother as well.
I have 3 daughters. Yes.
3 daughters.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Blessings.
Nice.
So can you just from a personal perspective,
Sure.
can you talk about like just your journey as a mother and what you experienced? Kind of, you could hint at or imply a professionalism, what you do, your PA-ism.
I like that.
Just from the first child to the 3rd child.
Wow. Well, I think, that's a wow. Because the space that I was in when I had my first versus 12 years later when I had my last is a different space, right? And so if I'm being fully transparent,
We encourage that.
which is what I do in the office too, like, you know, how I choose to practice is really based on what I've learned as a person, and I put the medical together because I feel like it is understood better that way, right? As opposed to just bringing just the medical. But I feel like with my first, I was 24. I was young. I didn't really have money, and you know, I didn't really know too much, and I was living at home with my mom and stuff. And so it was different compared to my third when I'm married with a husband, with you know, my own responsibilities and a supportive partner who was there for me. So that in itself is different, right? So my stressors from the first one when I was 24 to my last one just 6 years ago, is different. Right? And so how I responded and how my postpartum journey was different. It was a struggle the first time because it was just me. I had my mom, but it was just me. My partner, he was, you know, doing his thing back and forth, and we weren't really getting along. So it was like, we're breaking up, getting back together, and it was that kind of thing. And so that doesn't provide for an opportune environment to, you know, to raise a first time mom having a baby, right? That's difficult. So any first time mom in that kind of situation, which I know based on where I worked at Planned Parenthood, that is the case for a lot of people. And probably in a worse situation. I had my mom who was there like 100%. Some people don't have that. Right? So yeah, postpartum depression may show up in that kind of situation. Versus, again, when I had my last one, and she's 6 now, I have my husband. He's there. He's at the hospital. He's at every doctor's appointment. It's like nothing is missed. He knows what's going on. He knows me.
He sounds real corny.
He sounds
corny.
Shout out to him for being a corny.
He sounds corny.
He would fit in. Definitely. And I appreciate him for being there and for that. But, you know, that experience are 2 different experiences that I have to say that I can appreciate as I have matured in my own life with raising kids and going through the postpartum journey. I have to say I'm lucky. I wasn't one who suffered from postpartum depression, but depression itself is not fun.
But that leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
How many women suffer from postpartum? And then my next question with that is, are we disproportionately affected by postpartum?
So the first part of that question, it's more people than you know, right? I probably have to say about probably 1 in every 10 women suffer from postpartum depression, right? But if we're talking about how we're disproportionately affected, absolutely. We are, as African American women in medicine. I see so many patients who distrust medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do. And so to sit on the other side of the table and across from these women with my hair looking like it looks, right? And I look like them, I feel like I could help in a different manner, right? And I think that does help with bringing forth that honesty and transparency that we had talked about with them saying, hey, you look like me. I think the difficulty from my perspective as a medical professional, though, is that sometimes, unfortunately, our in our culture, to be depressed, you're not supposed to be that. You're supposed to be strong, please. Oh my goodness, as Black women, you're supposed to take it. You're supposed to bear it. Mama did it, grandma did it, great grandma did it. And so are you. You're no different. And so unfortunately, that factor plays a part, which again, when we talk about postpartum depression and that support system, all of that stuff is what is, causing some of the things to, the woman to feel the way she might feel.
Wow. What advice do you have for?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like just like 2 or 3 things that you have for women that may be that fit that category, right? Like a woman that's like, oh, I'm strong. I have to be strong. I'm supposed to be strong. Like, what do you say to something like that?
First, I say it's okay. You don't have to do it all. It's okay, right? If you have somebody that a friend or girlfriend, and I could even give you fellas the postpartum depression national hotline, whatever,
absolutely.
so that you could post it or whatever. I could give you that information. The phone number is a phone number. They have lots of information, but Google. And I heard you say something earlier about TikTok. There is something to learn on TikTok and Google that literally ask for the help, reach out for the help. Okay, know that you don't have to grit and bear it all. It's the help and the information is there. And unfortunately, it may not come to you. You may have to go look for it, but it is there. But talk to your doctor, talk to your partner, talk to a friend, a family member, anybody if you're feeling like you can't go on.
You know what? Snug had a very good question.
So, my question is, can women experience postpartum depression when they have miscarriages, abortions, and stillbirths?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, a pregnancy is a pregnancy, right? Some of them don't make it all the way full term, but the hormone levels are still doing its thing, whether it's short term at 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or you were 6 months, or you delivered. The hormones are still there. And so those things, and the situation is still there, right? So, when you're thinking about, man, I can't keep this baby, I just had a baby, or, I'm all alone and I'm just not in a situation to have a baby, that is something that could, and you choose to make that decision to have a termination, you can still spiral out into a depression. And a woman who has depression before being pregnant is more likely to get postpartum depression. So
you know what, and that actually leads to my next question, right? Because this is very important, right? Because you talked about you have a corny husband, right? Which is also a corny dad.
He's definitely down with the set.
So it's so corny.
But like you just said, I think, not that I think, based on a person's current circumstance, could lead them into a deeper postpartum depression. So the question is PPD preventable? Is there anything the partner or family can do during the prenatal stage to ease or avoid PPD?
I have to say no to that.
Ooh, good answer.
Preventative? No. I wish, because I would provide it to everybody. Oh, you're having a baby. Here, take this, so this does not happen.
Right.
But it's not that simple.
Wow.
It's not that simple. And it's unfortunate. I think the best thing that could be done from a family member, partner perspective is to just be that supportive person to, whoever we're talking about. Is it the woman? Is it the father? Just having that support system, I feel like is the best thing that I can say. But preventatively, unfortunately, no.
There's basically no getting around it.
No.
This is something that
if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Yeah, and it's just a matter of seeing it soon enough before it could become detrimental. You know what I mean? Like the baby is now suffering because, the baby is not eating. Let's say the mother doesn't have a partner. And if it's so, she's so far gone, now the baby is suffering because the baby is not, the baby's hygiene hasn't been kept up. And babies can get a lot of things when they're first born, right? And, the mother or not eating, the baby's not eating, and the mother can...
Yeah, essentially, it just passes that on.
It just passes on, and it just gets worse. So I think having a support system is the best thing.
And how important is it to have the right healthcare professionals, to have the right team of professionals around you? How important is that? And who would you consider the right professionals?
I think it's super important. I think it's helpful if you can find a provider that looks like you. I try my best for my own providers to do that, or at least find somebody that you can trust. You don't understand how many times I've had patients sit across from me and they said, I went to this doctor and they didn't care anything about me. They didn't hear anything I had to say. And then when they got to me, it was like, oh, thank you so much for listening.
Right.
Listening to what I had to say. And sometimes it's funny because I had this thing in the office where I say, oh, that visit wasn't even a medical visit. That was just a therapy session. Yeah. And literally, whatever ailment the patient came in with, we talked about God knows what else.
Right.
And they walked out and the ailment was gone. Literally.
So a question I have, and I know this may go completely against probably your codes and your practices. Sure. There are many women that talk about when in childbirth having a doula. A doula, I'm sorry. If a woman comes to you seeking advice, seeking help, and you can't seem to make the connection with them, would that be something that you would not recommend but suggest for
Absolutely.
them? Okay.
Absolutely. I think whatever is best for the patient is my goal, right? If I'm not hitting the mark, I want to refer you to somebody who might.
Okay.
Right? If we don't have that connection, or you feel like I'm not the one I'm okay with that. I don't take offense. I'm not going to be upset because it's your pregnancy. It's it's your your journey, right? And so some women, they prefer that. Doulas have a more down to earth, even midwives.
Midwives, yes.
Yeah, we have midwives that practice at our facility. Like I said, obviously we don't deliver babies, but midwives and doulas, they work in a different capacity.
Really?
They work for the patient, right? And it's more on I feel like it's more on a personal. I've actually wanted to do it myself, but I never did when I was pregnant. But I feel like it's just more personable. And for some patients, that's something that they prefer.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that's a great option. I'm glad you brought that up because those are good options for delivery.
Awesome.
So I'm going to have a transparent moment. Okay. You kind of alluded to it, and I'm guilty of it.
Okay.
When you said that grandmama did it, mama did it, and you're expecting your partner to be as strong as they were, but you don't realize, I don't want to say weak, but as a kid, you look at them as strong. So as an adult, as a grown man, you look at your partner as you're supposed to uphold this. And I was guilty of not recognizing the signs and not being a support versus being the support.
Right.
And I think I did more damage. And I, to this day, even if I look back, I'm not sure. I don't know if I would recognize it now, besides just being supportive. Being in a space to where we can communicate. Yeah. I didn't communicate on a regular, so I was, it was expected. The baby was expected to change things, and they didn't. So it was multiple. Yeah. So that's a real thing in our community.
Wow, it is. It definitely is. And in my practice, when I see patients, I definitely encourage my patients to seek out that therapy. And you know how I talk about it? I don't, we think that, therapy is for the crazy person. No, you don't have to be crazy. So when I'm describing it to a person, I say it's just to talk about your feelings. Because it's somebody who's subjective. They don't know your situation, and they're there to give you a different perspective. I'm in therapy, and it's a good thing. It helps you think about things in a different manner that you wouldn't typically think about.
Critically.
Yeah. And so it's giving somebody who is a professional is giving me a different view, right? And so I think sometimes we just see things one way. And I think that's why I said communication. I think sometimes you got to step out yourself, and sometimes therapy helps you to step out of yourself and see things in a different way so that you can be supportive, and especially in a time when a patient or your partner is going through something like postpartum depression.
And I think it's very important, if you can, please speak to the younger, soon-to-be corny dads. Because, like, for example, I was a young, soon-to-be corny dad going through, that same exact process. And through that process, to be quite honest with you, like Snug, I wasn't as, at least I don't believe that I was as supportive as I could have possibly have been. I can't, at this point in hindsight, I can say that, my partner throughout that time, she was going through some changes, biologically and mentally. And as a young guy growing up, we've seen what we've seen and we know what we know. And ultimately, one thing that we don't know that's starting to become new in our community is therapy, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's starting to become a new thing. So during that phase, right?
Thank
God, right?
Thank goodness.
So during that phase and during that time, when my partner was going through what she was going through, at no point in time did it register to me that there was actually something wrong. It was, she's bugging.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It was, we just wasn't cognizant, nor did we have the knowledge. Now you're talking about, 11, 12 years later, a more mature, more wiser person, right? Now, I'd be able to identify some of these things, but I think, if you could speak to some of the younger guys, because I think that we spoke at such a high level today that we need to be able to speak to some of our younger viewers, because truth be told, a lot of the feedback that we get on Twitter is from young, new dads.
Wow. I think to that, in that regard, what I have to say for young people, I feel like reaching out to an elder. Reach out to somebody who's been there. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know. And so if you've never had that father figure, or maybe mom and dad divorced, and so dad is not present to say, hey, son, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is what you should do, or this is how I did it. Reach out to an uncle, a friend, a mentorship, whatever, big brother, I don't know, whatever. Whatever, to try to, just get some advice from somebody who's been there. I think that's the best thing that I could say. Because again, and I want to say a male perspective, right? Because your mama gonna say, well, baby, you just gotta be there. She's gonna get on your nerves, and but you just gotta da 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 da. But from somebody who's been there as a father, right? I feel like that'll be more effective that way. But I think just reaching out to somebody is and asking, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I feel. What do you think about this? What should I do? Or how should I do this? Or how did you handle this? Did you ever experience that? Just to kind of get an idea so you know how to navigate whatever until you get there.
I failed at that miserably.
So
I think we all had it.
So do you think?
You didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know.
You didn't know.
We didn't know.
If you knew better, you do better.
Right.
For sure.
It's true.
Do you think there's a disconnect or a misconception? A lot of times you said reach up to somebody older. Fatherhood in the 60s and 70s is different than fatherhood today.
Oh, yes.
Correct.
So the
social media age.
Yeah, so their approaches are different than ours.
Yeah.
So if I'm reaching out to somebody who was a father in, let's say, the 80s or 90s, their approach is different. So they're giving me advice like, no, that's the mom's job to stay at home.
Right.
And they do that, and you come out here and run the streets with me. So, but then you leave your partner at home. Like that, to me, like looking back, because I got some of that advice, and it was like, no, you got it, you good. I'll get the boy when he turned 5. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So
Yeah,
and it kind of creates a little bit of it created a little bit of turmoil in my relationship, not just with my partner, but also with my son. So do you think medically there's a disconnect in just that difference in generations?
Absolutely, yeah, because we're in a different space now, right? And so when I say reach out to somebody, so you're reaching out for the information, right? But even if we have to bring it to 2022, you could go on TikTok, you could go on Instagram, you could go on any of these social media sites and find Facebook groups where people are having conversations about these things, about things that you want to know, right? And so, yeah, Grandpa from it's going to tell you back in 1982 how it was, but I mean, these are like podcasts like you guys.
There was no seatbelt. What you want them to tell you? There was no seatbelt. This was the seatbelt right here. Yeah. Come on, man.
Exactly. That's true. But looking for the information, that's why I say I'll give you guys the phone number for the Postpartum Depression National Institute. And so it's an 800 toll-free number. And I was perusing the site this afternoon. And yeah, they have...
I like that.
Perusing. They have information for dads.
Wonderful.
For moms. For couples. They have therapy. They have peer mentorship. They have FAQs. And so information like that is stuff that you can use even in this day and age if, Grandpa from 1982 doesn't have it, completely down. But the information is there. You just have to ask. You can even ask your provider. Doctors have this information. Even when you go for your checkup, hey, I was wondering, do you have information about?
See, that's a thing. Once again, in our communities,
we're ashamed to ask the question.
We're ashamed. It's just this. It's the stigma that is attached to it. But if, like you said before, if we do the research, even with us being overly emotional right after a child is born, that is our body kind of programming us to be able to bond with the child, correct? Is that how far-fetched?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of brothers, they don't understand that because we always look at emotion as weakness, and it's not. Indeed, it's not a weakness. It is something for us to. It's nature.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We're all born the same, whether we're male or female, and the reason we all have emotions is because we're supposed to use them.
Indeed.
It's unfortunate that in our community. That's men and women have been taught to suppress those feelings.
Yes.
It's super unfortunate. And so now I can appreciate now in 2022 the fact that we can have conversations like this and it's more acceptable to talk about mental health, postpartum depression in itself, men having emotions because it's something that we're all supposed to have. It's not strange.
We got feelings too, ladies.
It's okay. Yes, you do.
Ask your question.
No, but once again, I mean, I think piggybacking off what you said, it's important for us to have emotional intelligence. I think that's what's really gangster nowadays. Like not being a tough guy, not going around here, not taking care of just the people around you, the people that you love. Just practicing emotional intelligence.
Something. That's sexy, guys. Ladies like that.
Ask questions.
You know what I mean? So in most of our communities, obviously we don't have the best, in certain areas, we don't have the best medical situations and procedures.
Sure.
As doing my research for this for this episode, I read that there are some facilities where after a childbirth, a woman is just provided with a checklist where she's supposed to check off her symptoms, and then from there, the doctor or the medical advisor will determine whether she needs further assistance
evaluations
with PPD.
Yeah.
Is that something that's commonly practiced in lower socioeconomical areas?
Well, I can only speak for my facility, and we did not provide that, right? That is something that is good to provide, right? Some primary doctors even do it just for standard depression, but it is something that, some OBGYN offices should look into if they're not providing that. My practice didn't, and, I'm not the head of the head at my office, but it is something that, would be good because at least you have the door slightly open to the questioning that you're looking for when a woman does come in at that postpartum visit. That's something good that you brought up.
So circling back to the initial question that was brought the first time, the woman comes into the office, you're able to assess her by visually hearing her, having a conversation with her. She has that supportive partner. Are you able to see if, hey, I think the father is also suffering from PPD because, like we said, once again, it's not clinically diagnosed, but it is something that we know exists. Like, so is that ever been a point that something like that has occurred?
So no, not for me. But if I did notice that something was going on in an evaluation when I was evaluating a woman, because remember, I'm an OBGYN, so I only see women, right? So I can't really make that diagnosis on a man, right? But I could make a recommendation for him or even to his partner, hey, you guys, or you might want to follow up with your primary doctor, because that's where you start. Follow up with your primary doctor. I notice A, B, C, and D. I don't know how you're feeling, but you might make an appointment and bring up what you brought up to me to your primary doctor, or whatever the case may be. But I can't really necessarily make that diagnosis because I'm dealing with mostly women. So although I see men in the supportive stance, it's not much that I could do, but I can make a recommendation.
So the question is, do men suffer from paternal postpartum depression? Is that a real thing?
That is a real thing.
All right.
That is a real thing, right? And the symptoms are similar to the ladies.
Right.
Oh, I thought I was bugging.
Why do you say
Man,
that?
listen.
Because they act like it don't exist.
They act like it's not a real thing.
It's not.
Well, one thing that you said was that we're all human. We all have emotions, and we're all like biologically made up of the same structure, right?
Right.
So when us men talk about postpartum depression, we get looked at like we're crazy.
That's the reason why.
And we need the symptoms. We need to know what please list the symptoms so that way they can hear
so we
it.
can know.
Yes, please list the symptoms.
Well,
I don't want us to gloss over them.
Don't gloss over that.
No. What are the symptoms?
Well, like I said, it's the same as the ladies, right? So I feel like if I have to say, men would probably experience it maybe slightly different, and women can experience the same things too, but men might come in and they might be expressing to their primary doctor, man, I have this headache that just never goes away. I can't sleep. I don't feel like eating. Or I'm eating too much. Maybe, I don't know if a guy would say that, but those are some things.
The answer is no.
But we know.
But we know.
And it'll probably come across as, well, maybe you just have a lot of stress.
Yes.
Right? But it's really for your provider to dig in deep and see how bad these things are occurring. Like, well, how bad, or how much sleep are you getting? And if he's like, oh, well, I'm up till 6 o'clock in the morning and I got to get up at 8 to go to work because I sleep for an hour a day, like, that's something that you need to ask. But again, it's unfortunate because most people are not going to ask you that because you're not looked at as, I just had a baby 6 weeks ago and, I'm not sleeping good and I barely can eat and oh, well, it's probably just because, it's just stress. New babies bring stress and it's looked down upon or in a different way that they may not really address it in that manner. But I feel like, again, it's hard to say this, but it's like you almost have to kind of go out and look for your own help, right? And it's unfortunate. Ladies are going to get a little bit more support than the guys are.
And the men, we just got to man up, right?
So I'm not saying that, but I mean, ideally, that's how providers look at it.
So, and I think one of the issues that we keep coming back to is therapy is important.
Yeah.
Communication is important.
Absolutely.
Men, especially in our communities, we just learning about therapy and how safe it is, creating a safe space and having a great support system. Communication, we barely still know how to do that, especially with the partner.
Speak for yourself.
I'm doing a wonderful job.
I'm also doing a wonderful job. Right. So we
yesterday.
So it's hard to communicate that, especially being young fathers, communicate that, especially from our environments, communicate that with a doctor who doesn't look like us.
Yeah.
So even when it comes down to therapy, I had to go find a therapist that looked like me and was from the same neighborhood neighborhood, but his experiences are different because he want to move somewhere else. Which so it's like so how do you suggest medically that doctors, if I don't know if there's any doctors watching, like how can they get to the bottom of supporting not just their female clients but also their male clients?
Yeah, I think having the information readily available is something that is helpful. Sometimes you can put a pamphlet out in the waiting area, put something in the men's restroom that they could stick in their pocket.
That's smart, actually.
Right? And that, you don't have to come out and fully say because, he might feel a little bit embarrassed with needing the help that he thinks he needs, right? And so, having those things available is helpful. And then, I don't know if people know this, but you can always, if you have insurance, you can always call the number on the back of your card and ask for somebody that is African American. I don't know if anybody knew.
I never knew that.
You
And I have
can do
insurance.
that. I do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the location. So you say, okay, well, I want to have this an African American female provider in this location, or a male provider, African American male provider. Now, here's the problem: there might not be a large selection.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because based on who goes to medical school, it's not many of us.
That's a different topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
But you can ask for that. And so, asking for that kind of help with somebody that looks like you. My therapist looks exactly like me. She got natural hair and she's African American. So,
yes. Looks just like you.
Yes, queen.
So, Miss Aneekah Simmons, we appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys.
Before you go,
Yes.
if you have any social media handles, ways that people can reach out to you, any Planned Parenthood resources that you want to provide to our audience, this is the time to do it, baby.
So my office is in Newark, New Jersey, but there's Planned Parenthoods all over. So wherever you are, you can literally go on to PlannedParenthood.org and you can look up you can pull up a location and find that. My social media handle is Aneekah's World, and so I talk about just being mentally healthy. And it's funny because that's what that page is about, just being mentally healthy and being free to live your life how you want and living happy and being happy with who you are. That's what my page is about. So it's Aneekah's World, and that's where you can find me on Instagram.
Aneekah's World.
Miss Aneekah, please. I know this is the first, but I hope it's not the last time you come and hang out with the corny dads in the cornfield.
Because I think we have a Roe v. Wade conversation.
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you.
We ain't built like that yet. We got to do a couple more push-ups. But we definitely appreciate you having you come today, man.
Thank
we
you so
really need
much,
that
guys.
information.
It's been fun.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, to you guys watching and listening, stay corny.
Stay corny.
Stay corny.
Stay corny.
That's so corny.